For 8 months, I thought I was the man who made her leave the bars forever. Turns out, I was just another customer who didn't know he was still a customer. My name's Marcus. I'm 61 years old, from Manchester originally, and I've been living in Phuket for the past 3 years. Made my money in property development back in the UK, sold everything after my divorce, and decided Thailand was where I wanted to spend whatever time I had left. Not running from anything, mind you. Running toward something. Freedom. Sunshine. And yes, beautiful women who actually appreciated a man with experience instead of treating him like he was invisible. I met Lamai in March of last year at a bar in Patong. Not one of the big tourist traps on Bangla Road, but a smaller place off Soi Bangla where the girls were classier, more refined. She wasn't like the others. She had this presence about her. Confident, direct eye contact. When she sat down next to me, she didn't immediately ask me to buy her a lady drink. We just talked. About real things. Her family in Isaan, my life in England. She laughed at my jokes. Proper laughing, not that fake bar girl giggle. She was 25. Beautiful in that effortless Thai way. Long dark hair, slim figure, skin like caramel. But it wasn't just her looks. It was how she carried herself. She told me straight up that first night that she was working in the bar to support her mother and younger brother back in Udon Thani. No father in the picture. She'd been in Phuket for 2 years. She was honest about it all. I respected that. I went back to see her 3 nights in a row. By the 4th night, I barfriended her. We went to a nice restaurant, not straight to a short-time hotel like some desperate loser. I wanted her to know I was different, that I saw her as more than just a transaction. We talked for hours over dinner. She told me about growing up in a village where everyone knew everyone's business, how she'd come to Phuket with dreams of working in a hotel or restaurant but ended up in the bars because the money was better and faster. The physical side came naturally after that. She stayed with me that night at my condo in Karon. And I'll be honest, at my age, I didn't expect things to work the way they did. But with her, everything just clicked. She made me feel like I was 40 again. The next morning, she didn't rush off. We had breakfast on my balcony overlooking the ocean. She seemed genuinely happy to be there. Over the next 2 weeks, I barfined her every single night. It cost me a fortune, but I didn't care. By the end of those 2 weeks, I sat her down and made her an offer. I'd pay her 35,000 baht a month, more than she was making at the bar, if she quit and became exclusive with me. Just me. No more customers. No more bar. She cried when I offered. Said no man had ever wanted to take care of her like that before. Said she'd dreamed of leaving the bar but never thought it would actually happen. She agreed immediately. I paid off her bar fine, the big one that bought out her contract. 80,000 baht. I didn't even blink. I took her to the bar the next day and watched her say goodbye to the other girls. They hugged her, told her she was lucky. The mama-san gave her a knowing smile that I didn't think much about at the time. Should have, though. We moved her stuff into my place that same week. Not much to move, really. A couple of suitcases, some clothes, makeup. She'd been living in a small room with 3 other girls, sharing everything. Now she had her own space. My space. Our space. Those first few months were perfect. And I mean genuinely perfect. Not the kind of perfect you convince yourself of while ignoring all the problems. She cooked for me. Thai food mostly. But she learned to make a decent full English breakfast. We'd have coffee together every morning on the balcony. She'd tell me about her plans for the day, usually involving going to the market or meeting up with a friend from the bar who'd also quit. Former colleague, you know. The sex was incredible. Regular, enthusiastic, varied. She seemed to actually want me, not just tolerate me. I'd been married for 26 years to a woman who treated sex like a chore she'd rather avoid. Lamai was the opposite. She initiated as often as I did, made me feel desired, made me feel like a man again, not just a wallet with a pulse. I introduced her to my expat mates at the yacht club, took her to nice dinners at the resorts, bought her a proper smartphone, an iPhone, because she'd been using some cheap Android thing with a cracked screen. Got her nice clothes, jewelry, took her to the dentist to get her teeth properly cleaned and whitened. I was investing in us, in our future. She'd video call her mother every few days. I'd sit next to her during the calls, waving at the screen. Her mother would smile and why at me. Lamai told her I was her boyfriend, her farang, and that I was taking good care of her. I sent money to her family a few times. Not huge amounts, 5 or 10,000 baht here and there when her mother needed medicine or when her brother's motorbike broke down. I didn't mind. That's what you do when you care about someone. We talked about the future. I wasn't naive enough to talk about marriage immediately, but I hinted at it. Asked her if she'd ever want to visit England, meet my daughters. She seemed interested, said she'd love to see where I came from. I started looking into visa requirements, started thinking long term. I trusted her completely. That was my biggest mistake. Not loving her, not taking care of her, trusting her. The changes started around month 4. June, maybe, July. Somewhere in there when the weather was at its most miserable, all that rain, she started spending more time on her phone. Not during our time together, she was smart about that, but I'd notice her texting constantly when she thought I wasn't paying attention. When I'd ask who she was talking to, she'd say her mother, or her friends from back home, or the girls from the bar checking in on her. She started going out more during the day. Before, she'd mostly stay around the condo, watch Thai TV, cook, clean, wait for me to come back from wherever I'd been. But now she had appointments, needed to help a friend, had to go to the temple, had to go shopping for things we apparently needed. I didn't question it much at first. She was young. She needed friends, needed social interaction beyond just me. I'm not some controlling psycho who needs to track his girlfriend's every movement. I'm confident enough in myself and what I offer that I don't need to worry about every little thing. But then her phone got a password. She'd never had one before. I'd borrowed her phone plenty of times to look something up or make a call when mine was charging. Now suddenly there was a 6-digit code I didn't know. When I asked her about it, she said one of her friends got her phone stolen, and now she was being more careful. Made sense, I suppose. Phuket has plenty of thieves targeting tourists and careless locals. I let it go. The sex started changing too. Not dramatically, not overnight, but gradually. It went from 5 or 6 times a week to 3 or 4, then to 2 or 3. She was always tired, always had a headache, always had her period, which seemed to come twice a month somehow. When we did have sex, she seemed distracted, going through the motions. She'd still make the right noises, do the right things, but that genuine enthusiasm was fading. I told myself it was normal, the honeymoon phase ending, relationships settling into routine. We'd been together 6 months by this point. Of course, things would be less intense than when we first got together. But then came the first real red flag I couldn't rationalize away. I was at the Marina Plaza Mall having coffee with a mate of mine, Derek, another expat who'd been in Phuket for a decade. We were sitting outside at Starbucks, talking about the usual expat stuff, when he went quiet and got this uncomfortable look on his face. He nodded towards something behind me. I turned around and saw Lamai walking through the mall with another farang. Older guy, maybe late 60s, white hair, beer belly hanging over his belt. They weren't holding hands or anything obvious, but they were walking close together, talking, laughing. I felt this cold spike in my chest. That instant recognition that something was wrong even if your brain hasn't caught up yet to explain what exactly. Derek said, "Isn't that your missus?" I said yes, it was. Lamai hadn't mentioned she'd be at the mall, hadn't mentioned meeting anyone. Derek, being a good mate, tried to give her the benefit of the doubt. Could be her uncle or something, yeah? I knew it wasn't her uncle. Her family was all in Isaan, but I nodded anyway and said probably. I didn't confront her about it that day. I don't know why. Pride, maybe. Didn't want to come across as jealous or insecure. Didn't want to be that guy who sees his girlfriend talking to another man and immediately assumes the worst. I'm not some paranoid little boy. I'm a grown man who's been around long enough to know that women have male friends, have normal interactions with other people. But it gnawed at me. That night, when she came home around 6, I asked her how her day was. She said she'd been at the market, then went to the temple, then came home. Didn't mention the mall. Didn't mention the old farang. I asked if she'd been anywhere else. She said no, just the market and temple. That was the first time I knew she was lying to me. I still didn't confront her. I watched. I paid attention. I started noticing more. She was dressing nicer when she went out. Before, she'd throw on shorts and a tank top for her errands. Now she was wearing makeup, doing her hair properly, wearing her nice dresses, the ones I'd bought her for when we went out to dinner together. She started smelling different too. Not her usual perfume. Something else. Something masculine. Cologne. I noticed it one night when she came home and kissed me hello. I asked her if she'd been around any men that day. She laughed and said only the old men at the market selling vegetables. The late nights started in month 7. She'd go out to meet a friend around 7 p.m. and come home at 11, then midnight, then 1 in the morning. Always the same excuse. Catching up with old friends from the bar who wanted to see how she was doing now that she'd escaped the life. I wanted to believe her. Part of me still did believe her, because the alternative was something I didn't want to face, that I'd been played, that I was just another stupid old farang who thought his money and his confidence would be enough to keep a 25-year-old bar girl faithful. I'm not like those other guys. That's what I kept telling myself. I'm successful. I'm in good shape for my age. I'm generous but not a pushover. I know how things work in Thailand. I'm not some fresh tourist who just fell off the plane thinking Thai women are all loyal angels who love you forever just because you're white. I knew better than that. So why would she cheat on me? What did she have to gain? I was already giving her everything she needed. But then my left hand started trembling. Just a slight shake, barely noticeable at first, but it got worse over a few weeks. Constant tremor in my fingers. I went to the hospital thinking maybe I had early Parkinson's or something serious. The doctor ran tests, found nothing wrong, and asked about my stress levels. Stress levels? Right. It was the middle of month 8 when I got the Facebook message from someone I didn't know. No profile picture, obviously a fake account, probably created just to contact me. The message said, "Your girlfriend's still working in bar. I send you photos." My stomach dropped. I stared at that message for what felt like an hour but was probably 30 seconds. My first instinct was that it was some scam. Someone trying to extort money out of me with fake photos. Happens all the time in Thailand. But then the photos came through. 4 of them. All taken inside a bar I recognized immediately. Not the bar where I'd met Lamai. A different one. Bigger. One of the main venues on Bangla Road. The first photo showed Lamai sitting at the bar in a tight red dress, the kind the girls wear to attract customers. She was smiling at someone off camera. The second photo showed her dancing on a small stage with 2 other girls. The third showed her sitting on some fat German guy's lap, his arm around her waist, her hand on his shoulder. The fourth showed her walking out of the bar holding hands with a tall farang in a tank top and cargo shorts. The photos were recent. I could tell because she was wearing the gold bracelet I'd bought her 2 weeks earlier. 22,000 baht? 18-karat gold? She'd cried when I gave it to her. Said it was the most beautiful thing anyone had ever given her. She was wearing it while sitting on another man's lap. I sat there in my condo holding my phone, staring at these photos, and I actually laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so perfectly, predictably, stereotypically what everyone said would happen, and I'd been arrogant enough to think I was special. I didn't reply to the message. I didn't need to. I saved the photos and waited for Lamai to come home. She walked in around 7 that evening, all smiles, carrying shopping bags from Central Festival. She'd bought herself new clothes, with my money, obviously, since she didn't have any other income, or so I thought. She kissed me on the cheek and asked how my day was. Normal, casual, like she hadn't been sitting on strange men's laps for money a few hours earlier. I asked her where she'd been today. She said shopping, then met up with a friend for lunch. I asked which friend. She gave me a name I'd never heard before. I asked her to show me what she bought. She did. A couple of dresses, some shoes, makeup. I asked how much she spent. She said, about 4,000 baht. I nodded, smiled, told her the dresses looked nice. Then I held up my phone and showed her the first photo, the one of her sitting at the bar. Her face went through about 5 different expressions in 2 seconds. Confusion, recognition, fear, calculation, then defiance. She said, That's old photo. From before I meet you. I showed her the bracelet on her wrist in the photo. The one I'd bought her 2 weeks ago. She went quiet. I showed her the second photo. Then the third. Then the fourth. She started crying. Big dramatic tears. The kind that work on most men. Marcus, I can explain. It's not what you think. I asked her to explain then. I was very calm. Almost curious to hear what possible explanation she could give. She said she'd gone back to the bar just to visit her friends, just to say hello. She missed them. She missed the social environment. She wasn't working. She was just visiting. I asked why she was wearing a bar girl dress if she was just visiting. She said she borrowed it from one of the girls to try on. For fun. I asked why she was sitting on a customer's lap if she was just visiting. She said he was drunk and pulled her down and she was just being polite because he was her friend's customer and she didn't want to make a scene. I asked why she was holding hands with a different Farang walking out of the bar. She said that was her friend's boyfriend and they were all leaving together to get food. Every answer was a lie, and we both knew it. I told her I'd paid her 35,000 baht a month for 8 months, 280,000 baht, plus the initial bar fine of 80,000, plus the iPhone, plus the jewelry, clothes, dental work, money sent to her family. I'd invested close to 500,000 baht into this relationship. She kept crying, saying she was sorry, saying she made a mistake, saying it was only one time, saying she needed money for her mother's hospital bills and didn't want to bother me, so she went back to work for a few nights. I asked, how many nights? She said 3 or 4. I asked when it started. She said last month. I knew she was still lying. The customer who sent me the photos had said in a follow-up message that she'd been working there for at least 2 months. Multiple customers knew her. She had regulars. I'd been paying her to be exclusive with me while she was making extra money from other men. Double dipping, triple dipping if you count the money she was probably taking from short-time customers. The anger I expected to feel didn't come. Instead, I felt this cold, satisfied vindication. I was right. My instincts were right. All those little red flags I'd noticed and rationalized away, they were real. I wasn't paranoid. I wasn't insecure. I was correct. She begged me not to break up with her. Promised she'd never go back to the bar again. Said she loved me. Said I was the only man she'd ever really loved. Said all the things they say when they're caught. I asked her if she'd slept with any of these customers. She said no, never. She just entertained them in the bar. I asked her if she really expected me to believe that a bar girl was sitting on men's laps, holding their hands, leaving with them but not sleeping with them. She went quiet again. I told her to pack her things and leave. Tonight. She switched tactics then. The tears stopped. The victim act dropped. She stood up straight and said, "You think you so special? You think you only one? I have 3 Farang give me money. You not even the one who give me most." There it was. The truth. Finally. She told me I was stupid for thinking a 25-year-old woman would actually want a 61-year-old man for anything other than money. Told me I was just an ATM like all the others. Told me the sex was never good. She faked everything. She had to get drunk before sleeping with me just to tolerate it. She wanted to hurt me, wanted to take back some power in the situation, but she didn't understand that every word she said just confirmed what I already knew, what I'd probably known for months but hadn't wanted to admit. I didn't react. I just waited for her to finish. When she finally stopped talking, I told her again to pack her things and leave. She said it was late. She had nowhere to go. I said that wasn't my problem. She could call one of her other Farang sponsors. She started crying again. Real tears this time, I think. Not because she was losing me, but because she was losing the money, the comfortable condo, the easy life. She packed 2 suitcases and left around midnight. Didn't say goodbye. Slammed the door hard enough that my neighbor came out to check if everything was okay. I slept better that night than I had in months. The next day, I went through everything she'd left behind. Found condoms in her makeup bag. We never used condoms together. Found receipts for hotels in Patong. Found a second phone hidden in the back of the closet, a cheap Thai phone with a local SIM card. Turned it on and saw messages from multiple men, some in English, some in Thai. All calling her by different names. Some sending her money via transfer, some making plans to meet. She'd been running a proper operation. I was just one stream of income among several. I showed the evidence to Derek and a few other mates at the yacht club. They were sympathetic but not surprised. Every single one of them had a similar story. Either it happened to them or they knew someone it happened to. One guy told me about his friend who'd married a Thai bar girl, brought her to Australia, set her up in a nice house, and found out 2 years later she'd been prostituting herself on Thai dating sites the entire time, sending money back to her Thai boyfriend who was living in the house the Australian guy had bought for her family. Another guy told me about someone who paid for his girlfriend's university education, 4 years of tuition, only to find out she was escorting high-end clients on weekends to supplement her income. These stories are everywhere. They're so common, they're cliché, and I became one of them. I saw Lamai 3 weeks later. I was having dinner at a restaurant in Kata and she walked in with a different old farang. This one was even older than me, probably 75, barely able to walk without a cane. She saw me, smiled, waved like we were old friends, walked past my table holding his arm. The disrespect was almost impressive. I found out later she'd already moved in with him. He lived in a villa in Nai Harn. Apparently, she'd been seeing him the entire time she was with me. He was the one who gave her the most money, like she'd said. I was just the backup plan, or maybe the third or fourth plan. Here's what I learned, and I want every man watching this to pay attention, because this could save you a lot of money and pain. First, the phone password. The moment she changed her phone password, I should have known. Women don't suddenly add passwords to phones they've had unlocked for months, unless they're hiding something. Period. If your girlfriend's phone suddenly requires a code you don't know, she's cheating or planning to cheat. Second, the new clothes and appearance changes. If she's dressing better when she goes out without you than when she's with you, she's meeting someone else. Women dress up for men they want to impress. If she's not trying to impress you anymore, she's trying to impress someone else. Third, the late nights with vague explanations. Meeting a friend until 1 a.m. multiple times a week? No, she's meeting a man. Friends meet for coffee at 2 p.m. Men meet at bars at night. Fourth, the decrease in physical intimacy. When a woman is getting her needs met somewhere else, she doesn't need you for that anymore. You become just the financial provider. The sex dies because she's already having sex with someone she actually wants. Fifth, the defensiveness when questioned. If you ask simple questions about her day and she gets angry or accuses you of not trusting her, it's because you shouldn't trust her. Innocent people don't react with aggression to basic questions. And sixth, the most important one, if she came from the bars, she never really left the bars. The mentality doesn't change just because you're paying her a salary instead of bar-fining her every night. She's still transactional. She's still calculating. She's still looking for the best deal, and if someone offers her more money or more freedom, she'll take it while keeping you around as backup. I'm not saying all Thai women are like this. I'm not even saying all bar girls are like this. But the ones who are like this are very good at hiding it until they're not. I stayed in Phuket for another 6 months after that. Tried dating a few other women, but my heart wasn't in it. Every time I met someone new, I was looking for the red flags, waiting for the lies, expecting the betrayal. It's no way to live. I moved to Chiang Mai last year. Fresh start, different environment, fewer bar girl dramas. I'm not in a relationship now. Don't know if I want to be. The confidence I had, that belief that I was different enough, valuable enough, that a woman would stay faithful, it's gone. Maybe that's the real damage from this whole experience. Not the money I lost, though that stings. Not even the betrayal itself, though that hurt. It's the loss of belief in my own value. She made me feel like I was just a wallet with legs, and maybe she was right. I see old farangs with young Thai girls all the time here in Chiang Mai, walking through the night markets holding hands, sitting in restaurants, the girl staring at her phone while he tries to make conversation. I wonder how many of them are being played right now and just don't know it yet. How many are telling themselves the same lies I told myself? She's different. I'm different. This time it's real. It's not real. Or maybe it's real enough for her, in that she really does appreciate the money and security you provide. But it's not love. It's not partnership. It's a transaction she's willing to maintain as long as the math works out in her favor. I spent 500,000 baht and 8 months of my life to learn that lesson. You don't have to. If you're in a relationship with a former bar girl and you're seeing the signs I described, don't be like me. Don't rationalize them away. Don't tell yourself you're special. You're not special to her. You're convenient. You're useful. But you're not special. And if you find out she's cheating, don't waste time trying to fix it or understand why. Just leave. Because the why doesn't matter. The trust is gone. And without trust, all you have is an expensive roommate who occasionally sleeps with you out of obligation. I was right about Lamai from the beginning. My instincts were correct. I just chose to ignore them because I wanted the fantasy to be real more than I wanted to face the truth. Don't make the same mistake I did.